Hey guys, welcome to Amity Tracks. It's time for another year. We are up to 1985. So, what's happening in 85? Well, Ronald Reagan is still your president. Well, um, the internet domain name system is created. We Are the World is released. Live Aid also occurs, with Phil Collins doing his infamous transatlantic trip where he played in London and then flew over and played in Philadelphia so he could play both Live Aids. Mikhail Gorbachev takes over in the Soviet Union, bringing in a new era. Amadeus wins Best Picture. Fantastic movie. New Coke is released and then rescinded because it's so unpopular, and the old Coke comes back, or Coke Classic, right? And the wreckage of the Titanic is discovered. We set eyes on the wreckage for the first time since it went down in 1912. In 1985. All right. Enough of that though. Let's talk music. So, as usual, I'm going to give you my top 10, my countdown, 10 to 1, my favorite records of 1985, and then we'll blow through a bunch of honorable mentions, which is editor's favorite part. All right, coming in at number 10. Yeah, I made a last minute switch, but this just barely got into 10 and I had to bump one to the honorable mention. But at number 10 is this awesome comeback record from John Fogerty, Center Field. John Fogerty's Center Field. Now, John Fogerty of Creedence Clearwater Revival. He had released some material, but then he'd gone silent for quite a while. He was, kind of buried in this lawsuit that he was fighting with Saul Van Zandt, his the former manager of CCR, also ironically a producer of Amadeus as he went into movie production. But this was a triumphant return. I think by far his crowning achievement as a solo artist, post CCR. And there's some stuff on here that sounds very much like CCR. Old Man Down the Road, which is a great song, great music video too. Remember that video? Just like following his chord all through the swamp, like the whole video. Just awesome. I love that video. And I've mentioned this before. That song that's his most CCR sounding song. So much so that Saul Vance then sued Fogerty for copying, I guess, himself, sounding too much like CCR. Rock and Roll Girls is on there. Of course, what's become a perennial tune played at baseball parks, center field. And he takes two shots at Saul Zaentz, the Mr. Greed and Vance Can't Dance. So, anyway, but it's a fantastic record. Fantastic record. Triumphant return. Number 9. Many of you probably consider a one-hit wonder, but oh no. This is actually a really good band that has had like a kind of decades run, not so much here in the United States, but overseas, like in Europe and other parts of the world. They've had a long, fruitful career. And I've got a lot of their albums, but this is their debut, and this was the one that I guess anyone in the U.S. probably bought. But yeah, I'm talking about Aha, Hunting High and Low. Of course, Take on Me with those amazing high notes. Hit by what's that lead singer's name? Like, they were from. Are they from Norway? Or I don't know, somewhere up in Scandinavia is where they originated. What's that guy's name? I don't remember. My editor could throw it up there. I probably couldn't pronounce it anyway. But yeah, but they're much more than Take on Me. Really good, just 80s pop rock, and into the 90s and beyond, they developed into just like a really good band. I would recommend taking a deeper dive into Aha beyond. And this song or this record itself is way more than just Take on Me. Hunting High and Low is a great song. Living a Boy's Adventure Tale. The Sun Always Shines on TV. It's a great song. Train of Thought. Um, give these guys a closer look. Number 8, the solo debut from Sting after he disbanded the Police. Dream of the Blue Turtles. I have so much respect for this record. This record and the next couple. I think Sting's solo work took a dive into the toilet early to mid 90s, and it's been crap ever since. But I love his first 3 or so records. I think he did. If you're gonna leave a major, like, awesome band like the Police, then you shouldn't just try to recreate the Police. Go in a totally different direction, and he did. For this record and that tour afterwards, which he released this great live record, Bring on the Night. Um, where's the So he basically assembled these great jazz musicians: Daryl Jones on bass, Branford Marsalis on saxophones, Omar Hakim on drums. Although Hakim kind of stayed with him for a long time. Kenny Kirkland, deceased, I believe now, but amazing jazz pianist. Sting put together these. These are like, at least in the mid '80s, these kind of hot young jazz players. And Sting kind of switched from bass, went to rhythm guitar, and of course vocals. And but he's not sitting here trying to do jazz. This is still Sting music, but just really creative stuff. This was a big hit too, if you remember. If you love someone, set them free. Somebody set them free. Love of the Seventh Wave. Russians, serious Russians. Those were all hits. Fortress Around Your Heart is an amazing song. If you go over to Rick Beato, his channel, he does a great breakdown of that song on one of his videos, and just talks about just musically how interesting and complex that song actually is. How We Work the Black Seam was fantastic. Children's Crusade is epic. Yeah, what a strong start to his solo career. All right. Number 7. I'm not going to spend too much time on this record. If you, assuming we put these videos out in the order that I think they're coming out, our previous video was Pete Townsend, breaking down his career, ranking his albums, and this was on that list. Go back and see where if you watch that video. But White City. So I'm not going to say too much on this video because I just finished talking about this record. But that early to mid '80s Pete Townsend stretch for Townsend, I think, is his best period. And this is a brilliant record. It's got David Gilmour playing on some tunes. Just great songs like Give Blood, Face to Face, Secondhand Love is so good. I Am Secure, White City Fighting, just so good, so good. Much better than the early '80s Who records that were coming out. He was saving his best material for these solo records. All right, number 6, huge record, huge. And this was huge. Dire Straits, Brothers in Arms. You guys know I'm a huge Dire Straits fan. We've done a great Dire Straits video, which I did in costume. Go back and look. Um, yeah, this was massive. My first concert I ever attended was when this tour came to Houston. I think I've talked about that show. It's an incredibly memorable show, and I have it all because it's a widely bootlegged show, so I have it on bootleg. So I can still listen to it all the time. It's a great show. Anyway, yeah, this was massive. This made Dire Straits one of the biggest bands on earth for a little while. Money for Nothing, of course, with Sting on the I Want My MTV part, right? Walk of Life was a huge hit, although I've never been a big fan of that song, but it was a big hit. I love Man's Too Strong, playing that resonator guitar, or National Steel, whatever you want to call it, the steel guitar, so good. Yeah. What do you say about that, right? Coming in at number 5, though. At number 5, I have just I think one of the great sort of synth pop records of this decade. I mean, if you're open to that style of music, it doesn't get much better than Howard Jones' "Dream into Action." This is fantastic, just superlative synth pop. Things Can Only Get Better was a huge hit. Life in One Day was a hit. Um, No One Is to Blame, a gorgeous ballad, beautiful song. But the whole thing, I mean, all the album cuts. The title track is great. Like to Get You Know You Well, Assault and Battery. I mean, the whole thing, just fantastic synth pop. Coming in at number 4, we have a band I haven't talked about as much on this channel as I'd like to because I really do love them. But The Cure with The Head on the Door. I think this might be their most eclectic, most interesting record. I'll do a Cure ranking at some point, but not my favorite of theirs, but it'd be up there. I mean, really high in a ranking, but probably their most eclectic. I mean, it opens with "In Between Days," just one of those effervescent pop songs that Robert Smith could throw out there. That great acoustic playing on it too. I think Kyoto Song, and then The Blood. It's got that almost like flamenco stuff in there. And Push. Push is one of my all-time favorite Cure songs. I mean, just oh, that 2-minute introduction to the instrumental introduction before he even sings. It's just so good. So good. I saw The Cure this summer. Went to that show and they played Push, and it was so great. God, it was so great. Close to Me is probably the best known uh, hit off of here, which is a great hit. God, this whole record is. I mean, I don't know. If you're like, yeah, where might I start with The Cure? This would be a good starting place. God, it's so good. All right, but here we are in the top 3. Top 3. Um, Number 3 has gotten this sort of, and I think well deserved. I'm so happy it did. But this like resurgence this last year, this great recognition this last year, I think a younger generation discovering this artist, and she has always been brilliant. But it's nice to see some people figuring that out. And due to a song off of this record that was used in Stranger Things, and it just blew up. Talking about Kate Bush, Hounds of Love. God, I'm in love with Kate Bush. Beautiful and brilliant, great singer. Just but a true artist too. And what's so great about this record, Hounds of Love, is like the first side is just full of like really good songs, including Running Up That Hill, which was the huge song that had this resurgence, because of Stranger Things. But Hounds of Love is a great song. Cloud Busting was great. And then on the second side of this record, she gets really experimental and really out there. But it's so interesting and so good. This is a brilliant record. Absolute brilliant record. It's that perfect balance. It's got great, catchy songs that grab you immediately, but then, especially on that second side, really challenging experimental stuff. Cannot say enough about this record. It is genius. But there are 2 records I love even more from 1985. Coming in at number dos, I have got Listen Like Thieves from INXS. I think INXS is one of the more underrated bands of that era. I mean, yes, they had huge hits. Obviously, Kick comes later, which was a massive hit. The record Kick. But I got on board here. This is when I got into NXS was when this record came out. I played the hell out of this. I think on cassette. I think I had it on cassette for a long time. And I played that. Man, I played that tape over and over again that summer or whenever it was. But God, I love this record. There's just something about it, man. I mean, all the promise that had been sort of building with this band, with the previous records like Shabu Shuba, or however you say it, and The Swing. It happens here. Um, like all the elements come together, that sort of the dance grooves, but the rock and roll, the just all of it just comes together here, combined with a great batch of songs. I mean, What You Need was the massive hit, but man, the title track and Kiss the Dirt, I think, are just as great. Those were hits. Shine Like It Does is a great song. This Time should have been a hit. God, that's such a great pop rock song. I love this thing from start to finish. I really, really have a thing for Listen Like Thieves. I know there's some albums that some fans like more, but I this is it for me, man. I love Listen Like Thieves. We'll do an INXS episode sometime soon. But if you've watched, I watched my channel for a little while. We did a video on these guys. There's no question what my number one album of 1985 would be, because this one is in my top 20 probably favorite albums of all time. Period. I think this is absolute genius. If you watched a while back, we did a Tears for Fears episode, and if you watched that episode, you saw me gush about this record on that episode. Songs from the Big Chair, Tears for Fears. This to me transcends the 80s. It's like got a lot of 80s elements, but the production is so huge. Everything about this record is huge. It's just big, cavernous, monstrous. It's just so great. I mean, wow. Side one of this, we might revisit this on my new series, Perfect Sides, because side one is pretty perfect. Shout. Then the Working Hour with that beautiful saxophone intro that goes on, I don't know, probably a minute and a half, something like that, before the even song starts. It was gorgeous. Everybody Wants to Rule the World, which may for me be the definitive 80s song, may encapsulate that whole decade. Then Mother's Talk was a great hit. Then you go on the second side, I Believe and Listen. To me, those are the two. If there is a weak point, those two. But right in the middle there, Broken going into Head Over Heels. Head Over Heels, maybe one of the great pop rock songs of the decade. Also, this is just, I think it's genius. I think this is absolute genius. Alrighty, there's my top 10. Let's get some honorable mentions here, because I will tell you, 1980. I love the early into the mid 80s. I think those are huge decades for great music for me. It just kind of hits one of my soft spots because of my age, I guess. But yeah, some genuinely great records. I got this on CD. I used to have this on vinyl. I don't know what the hell. I had a box of vinyl stolen out of a U-Haul truck, and I think this was in that box. But Stevie Ray Vaughan, Soul to Soul, his third studio record, continuing to be awesome and great. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is the record that got bumped. This was in my 10 slot, and then so this would be 11. This one goes to 11. Prince, Around the World in a Day. His sort of psychedelic pop experimentation. Raspberry Beret is on there. I think this is brilliant. I think it is so great. I love it. I know this, after Purple Rain, this was seen as kind of a disappointment by a lot of people. I think it's quirky. It's got psychedelic elements, but pop elements, and I think it's fantastic. Pop Life is on there too. Okay, you want to make fun of me for this? Fine, but I'm going to tell you, this is actually a really good record. I promise you. And I'll use that old sort of caveat. Hey, he was big in Canada, because he was. This guy was actually really big in Canada, and big here for a little while. This guy, I think, did some really good sort of pop rock music. Yeah, okay, I'll show it to you. Corey Hart. I'm not ashamed to say, Corey Hart, Boy in the Box. I think this is his best record by a long shot. But Boy in the Box. Now, this doesn't have Sunglasses at Night on there. That's on his previous record, First Offense. But I think this is his best overall record. Yeah, man, this is good. Boy in the Box, I thought that was a good song. I was like Eurasian Eyes. I thought that was kind of mysterious. It's good. And of course, the big hit on here was Never Surrender, which I thought you might enjoy this. I have the 45 for Never Surrender. Check this out. It folds out. Let's put the record here. It folds out so you teenage girls out there can have a Corey Hart poster, or teenage boys too, I guess. I don't know. I never put it up, but there's a Corey Hart poster in there for you guys. Check that out. Isn't that cool? The 45 single, and then you fold it back up a certain way, and the single slides right back in the, yeah, whatever. Okay. ZZ Top, Afterburner. Go back to our ZZ Top video. And you'll see I do have a soft spot for this record. I know it's, drowning in synthesizers and programmed beats and all that. I don't care. I really dig it. Sleeping Bag, Stages, Planet of Women, Velcro Fly, Dipping Low in the Lap of Luxury. I love it. Talking Heads put out Little Creatures, which is pretty great. John Mellencamp. Well, I guess here he's billed John Cougar Mellencamp at this point. But John Cougar Mellencamp puts out what, now it's not my favorite record of his. It'd be up there though. But it's definitely, I say definitely, probably his biggest, I think. Most successful, maybe. Scarecrow. And this was the one where, people, okay, he's a serious artist. So Mellencamp starts to be taken seriously, a bit as an artiste. But yeah, this is great. It had huge hits on there. Small Town, Lonely All Night. Those were the big ones. But Rain on the Scarecrow is pretty brutal. Minutes to Memories is great. Between a Laugh and a Tear, that's my deep cut on here. I think that's a really good song. Underrated song of his. Oh, ROCK in the USA. That's the other hit that was on here. That's fun. It's a great record. It's a great record. There's a little stretch there where Mellencamp was doing really good work. And that's obviously part of that stretch. I like this one. Mr. Mister, Welcome to the Real World. Had Broken Wings and Kyrie Liaison, right? Those were the two big hits off of here. This guy, it's a cool story with this band. These guys were like really like respected session guys. It's sort of like a Toto story, where they just sort of got together and said, "Hey, we could do a band," and then they did a band and had some hits. I just, how 80s do those dudes look? Is that awesome? Now here's kind of the fun thing. I think it's him. See, I can't even tell. I think that's him. Pat Mastelotto, later of King Crimson. So it tells you actually these guys are really like top-notch musicians. Yeah, Phil Collins puts out No Jacket Required, which I think is the third of his 3 really good solo records. I mean, this was massive hit. Although and I didn't even plan it this way. This is the year of Sting. I'll tell you, Sting sang on the I Want My MTV part of Money for Nothing. He puts out a great solo record. Sting actually has some awesome backing vocals on A Long, Long Way to Go on here. Sting is so good. God, Sting is good. And you know what? Sting also has some great backing vocals on this. Arcadia, So Red the Rose. This was the one-off, along with Power Station, right? But one of the spin-offs that Duran Duran did, where Roger Taylor, Nick Rhodes, and Simon Le Bon went off and did this. This basically sounds like a really good, kind of more moody, synthy Duran Duran record. It's a really good record. But Sting, was it The Promise, I think? Does these like awesome backing vocals on that too. Election Day was kind of a hit. Like I said, this just sounds like a really good sort of mid-'80s Duran Duran record to me. It's fantastic. All right. Gotta hurry up here. How about Falco 3? This is really good all the way through, honestly. Rock Me Amadeus is on there. But Munich Girls, which uses the music of Looking for Love by the Cars, but then Falco wrote his own. And then JEANNY, that's on there. Vienna Calling. God, this is Macho is on there. He even does a cover of Bob Dylan's It's All Over Now, Baby Blue, which I think is actually really good. This is a really good record. I should have put this in the top 10 now that I think about it. Damn. Uh, Real quick, Men at Work put out their third record. You know, I'm a Men at Work junkie. Yeah, the third record that no one knows exists, Two Hearts. Everyone knows those first two Men at Work records because they had huge hits. But like honestly, very few people are even aware that they had a third record before they broke up. They were down to a trio at that point. But I don't know. Even I, as much as a Men at Work nut as I am, admit that only about half of this is good. But that half that's good, I think, is really good. Actually, some good songs on here. And I do want to mention, you know, I kind of included this in the previous year's video, 84, because it's sort of really tied to that record in 84. But technically speaking, this comes out in 85. U2 releases the EP, Wide Awake in America, which I just adore. But yeah, so just mention that. Now, there's two honorable mentions here that uh, I have like burned on CD or something, but I don't have official copies of, so editor can throw them up here. But New Order's Low Life, of course, and the Replacements Tim. Both of those are fantastic records. That's it, man. 1985. In the comments, did I miss anything? How would you rank 85? Let's talk 1985. Well, thanks for watching, guys. We really appreciate it. Please do subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, like the videos, and we'll see you next time.